We got to talk about the real Iron Man now deciding to take another role.
I
Zach,
guess so.
I'll let you take it away. I'm curious from your perspective. Just the cinephile film aficionado that you are.
Yeah.
This harkens back to the Shakespeare days, of course, of course, of course.
Obviously, in the old theater, actors used to play several roles, and you still see that in Broadway shows where actors will sometimes double dip on a part. No, yeah, as we alluded to, Robert Downey Jr., who is perhaps the most iconic performer in the MCU, given the way that he elevated Iron Man and helped kick off all these movies. After a few years outside of the clutches of Disney, he decided he could use a little more zeros in his bank account, and he is back. He has been confirmed to play Doctor Doom, the Fantastic Four villain, I believe, who will appear in both Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret War. Those films will be directed, as we alluded to on last week's Intercut podcast, by the Russo brothers, who are also returning to the MCU. It is the Jack Donaghy strategy of how to fix your failing company. Try to make it 2006 again by magic. It's a risky strategy. Let's see how it pays off for them. I feel like the initial response to bringing Robert Downey Jr. back has been mixed, to say the least. Art, does it make you more excited for some Avengers movies?
No. I thought it was one of the most incredible announcements that they've done. And I hate it. It's going to be so effective. I'm not looking forward to the movie. I'm looking forward to the movie. I am so conflicted with this because I had an hour of not knowing who it was. Alina had told me. She's like, you won't believe who they cast. She knows I've been waiting. She knows I've been waiting for Dr. Doom to be cast in this place. She knows I think that's one of the greatest supervillains out there. There's a guy who wears a mask in the Star Wars universe. You know where he got his from? Dr. Doom.
Okay.
One of the greatest rappers, rest in peace, MF Doom.
Shouts.
And they announced this after knowing that they can't do Kang anymore, which I don't know about you. I don't know how you felt, obviously, with the whole Jonathan Majors of it all, having invested some times, even though they're your least favorite of the MCU with Quantumania. I don't know if you feel like me that I still want to see the ending to something I invested a little bit in.
Yeah, I mean,
directors who I liked were going to be involved. I want to finish that storyline, like leak it, do something, give me a comic book. I want to know.
They recast the Hulk once upon a time. They recast Rhodey once upon a time. I don't feel like it's that crazy to go and recast Kang, especially considering that so much of what was going on seemed to have been leading up to. I mean, it will feel like a cop-out if there's like absolutely no resolution to all the Kang stuff. When you tease that.
Doesn't it feel like that? This feels like a pivot because I want to make sure we discuss that before we talk about why did this happen, right? Because even with Deadpool and Wolverine, it had been since 2017 for a Deadpool movie. Why was it so long? It's because, well, Hugh Jackman retired, and what was the next purpose going to be until Hugh Jackman decided, yo, you own all of Deadpool. I'm on no contract. Screw it. Let's do it. They don't need to bring this man back. They don't need to bring the Russos back. You need to dangle the craziest thing over them and have had like an audible that needed to be called for this move to happen, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, I actually don't know if this will be bad. In fact, we talked about this with the Russos last week, that like, while we really have not liked any of the movies that the Russos have made themselves directed.
Outside, yeah.
The MCU, they are at their best in the MCU. So perhaps this is the best place for them to be making movies. Not everybody has to be, style work.
I agree. Even Downey, no? Downey
even Downey, like I was really excited seeing him stretch himself. I think it just reeks of desperation, of somebody at the wheel, and Kevin Feige, who knows that things haven't been going well and just wants to put the wheel in the hands of somebody who can steady the flow, right? Can steady the ship, can get us back on course. And like,
and we said that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, like
But we're
they might
surprised by
make
it,
a
but we
pretty
know.
decent movie, but like they're not gonna surprise us. They're not gonna do something completely unexpected the way that, you know, casting Robert Downey Jr. in the first place is
The first
completely
time was
unexpected.
exactly, yeah.
Even hiring the Russos, who were primarily television directors, was an
Mhm.
unexpected and pretty smart move. It just it feels like a return to norms.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can just sell us on more of the same. I mean, there's plenty of people who will definitely show up for, you know, more of the same feeling you got from Infinity War and Endgame, but it just is, of the many options available to them, it is one of the least inspiring things I think out there.
Do you think they were still going to do this before Kang got kicked out?
Oh, I mean, well, I think that there, regardless of the situation that Jonathan Majors got in, there was just a general lack of reception to this phase of the MCU. I don't know if
Yes.
people really have been excited by Kang. Regardless of Jonathan Majors' involvement with the character, he's just not a character that inspired as much excitement as did those early Thanos
Thanos, yeah.
appearances. So I kind of feel like there's a chance this plan would have happened regardless. Maybe it would have happened a little further down the line
Yeah.
if it hadn't been for real world situations complicating things.
Because
But
they changed the name. Technically, the Kang movie now is a different name, which
exactly, yeah.
they've done in the past. They've switched
Mhm.
names for stuff. Like it was supposed to be a part 1, part 2 before Infinity and Endgame, but I don't know. I also wonder how much of the Kang storyline, like you were saying, it wasn't reading well. But did they also want it, right? Because the rollout to it, like you were saying, comparing it to a Thanos, was like, nah, that Thanos one, like even the first Avengers had nothing to do with Thanos at the forefront. Like in it, he was also just an after credits scene. He was also just hinted at a bunch of the movies leading up to it. They put my man in Quantum Mania. Like, why do I want to be introduced to the next big baddie in the worst movie? Don't worry, we got you. Season 2 of Loki on your Disney Plus account, right?
Yeah. No, and that speaks to
What?
the missteps that Marvel has made creatively. You know, they're not giving they did never gave the Kang character
He
the
lost one
right
ant.
kind of platform to, you know, become a Thanos type figure.
Yeah. But then also with the variants, like you're saying creatively, can't you just switch it out? What was the story supposed to be with all
Right.
these variants of everything when you literally have it right there that you could just switch them out? Where it's like you said, we're seeing every week a new joke about, haha, look at this variant that's here. Okay. So then why can't it be something different?
Yeah.
You just play with our expectations on Johnny Storm. No one will have a problem because no one really knew Jonathan Majors like that to begin with.
Right.
I know, and
Except
on the
for us.
Quantumania set, for us, that's it. But like that, you really think that we're invested in his craft? That was
Right.
what they really tried pitching. And I'm like, no, you have a lot of actors that people don't like, right? I love Tom Hiddleston, and I do think he's a great actor, but no one's watching Tom Hiddleston outside of that.
Mhm.
Let's get back to this Robert Downey Jr. news. Isn't it insane that we're all talking about the bag that they must have given this man off of what, Doolittle? Off
Yeah, I
of
mean,
what, Sympathizer?
I don't think the
He
sympathizer is paying like that.
he made movies outside that regardless of how they pay him, they didn't bring in money showcasing that it isn't Robert Downey. It's Robert Downey in the MCU. Just like the Russos, they can't direct outside, it's them in the MCU. So my only worry here before I say what I think it is going to be, which is what we both agreed on, that it's going to be okay. Are they not doing a Star Wars thing where they got really scared? Got JJ. Oh no, that
Yeah.
second one pivoted. Bring him back and fix it up. That people, like you're saying, are not going to be as surprised as the Russos when they were young and doing something different.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of bringing in the newbie, they're bringing in the old bees who are going to come in and maybe just do the more the same or even worse. We don't know what they're like at this stage. They were really good as whippersnappers, but now they can give us something really boring. Because who remembers Return of the, or what's the last one? Rise of the Jedi, whatever, the Skywalker.
Return of the Jedi?
Return of the J.J. Abrams is only remembered as, oh my gosh, it turns out
and
the guy's alive.
So that's a really great comparison to bring up, because does this phase of the MCU then kind of feel like what happened to Star Wars in that, like,
patch-up work?
You have competing storylines that bring your character, that make your characters feel almost like like their motivations are in different places, and you don't get full arcs for them. You introduce characters like Harry Styles is Eternals character, and then they never show up again.
And even Harry Styles, remember that monster that
what's going on?
Still just chilling there, bro.
What's going on with them?
Well, it's okay because they don't need to answer that. It didn't play in China. I do think that he's going to do a fantastic job because it's Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
We are at the realm where is it really the Russos that are bringing in that spice, or is it how they're able to formulate the project? Because they just got Sean Levy on here. No one went going, Sean Levy. But there is a lot of people who don't like Sean Levy. So for the Russos, do they get enough praise because of the movies that they've made under Marvel that even when it's something mid, people will be okay with it?
You know what I think it is with the Russos is that they have shown themselves to be really adept at managing a big ship, and maybe not quite so adept when managing a smaller vessel, right? Like when they have to take on more of the responsibilities themselves, the movies falter a bit. But when you have a team of writers constantly working on the script and a whole bunch of VFX artists to oversee and a DP who's going to do the whole shot list for you, and you just got to make sure everybody's showing up on time and everything's getting done, maybe that's just how they excel.
It could be. I see it first and foremost as them being able to bring back Robert Downey to the MCU.
They have that relationship.
That's what people want. They have that relationship. And it's interesting because for how long did we quote DiCaprio telling Timmy, don't take that. You are the star. You are not the suit. And that was the big thing, that we are not into superstars anymore. There are no A-listers. It's all about the IP and the property. Is this not the opposite? This is a good way for them to punch back and be like, it is the star. No matter where you have him, bringing him in like it's some sort of anthology, cast that can play different things. I have no worries in me that he's not going to do a great job. But in a world full of variants where people are seeing each other and all this stuff, and you're playing off of the Johnny Storms compared to the Captain Americas, why couldn't you get another person for this role? Why couldn't you make it be so original? You have 4 different Fantastic Four casts. You didn't go back to the well for that. So why are we doing it for him?
I'm almost surprised they didn't attach this to a teaser for Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, everybody knows this was
an announcement instead.
Yeah, because it was the same weekend anyway. Everybody knew that Deadpool and Wolverine was going to be massive. Like, it is not only the highest grossing movie probably of the year so far, but it for the MCU in a little bit, right? It just feels like the announcement maybe would have landed a little bit better if it didn't feel so much like, and hey, here's Downey Jr.
But it did do well, right? Like, you and I know how to be like, however, yay or nay on the subject, it was effective. That was like an announcement. It was a bombshell. A+ on the reveal of it.
About it. Yeah.
Yeah. The dude wasn't he just like chilling in the back and then walks up and then takes it off? The presentation. Yeah. He has too much charisma for it to not pop off like that. How it's going to play into it, we'll see. That's why I think it's a really big pivot, because they had nothing to show. They barely revealed titles. We were even talking about earlier in the weekend release for a movie filled with cameos. They brought the cameos up on stage.
Yeah. I think Luna brought that up in the live stream. Did you think that was lame of them to reveal the cameos in that way?
I don't think they knew they were going to make that much money at that point then. Why would you blow them all away like that? Why is Robert Downey Jr. just being announced? We haven't even gotten him on site yet.
Right?
Like, were y'all that scared of DC's announcements that haven't even happened yet? All James Gunn did was show a logo that we don't have in HD yet because someone had to film it. This sounds to me like a slow news week. This sounds like an outlet having to put out whatever. What was announced this weekend? The Thunderbolts we already knew? The Deadpool cameos that we're supposed to see in theaters? Like, if you look at all the news from Disney, it felt like a last-minute addition just to compete with whatever everybody else has.
Definitely.
I'm seeing Kevin say people don't care about DC Studios. It's a different DC Studios. What are we even talking about there? The only leak we have of this weekend is that logo, is the Superman stuff. And that's why when you're bringing comparisons for what we already know in the MCU, none of that matters until you get DC to come out and be like, well, they're not doing it. And that is what gets the rivalry going again.
Mhm.
We're at the part where the MCU is acting like the DCU, and DC is new. They're on a completely different path, all coming from the remnants that made the old MCU what it was. That's why I'm a little worried with these announcements, because it definitely feels like we don't know how to make something new, so we're going back in our bag. It can still be good, but I don't like people making moves that way.
Yeah, it's scared moves, and
Yeah.
I feel like scared moves tend to not really be your best moves.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any other bits of news that broke from Comic-Con that caught your eye? I know you were hotly anticipating that new Fantastic Four movie. They revealed the title as First Steps, which,
Okay.
yeah, it's a little bit of a mouthful. Fantastic Four First Steps.
Why? Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a little weird.
Are they
Some baby
babies?
stuff. Yeah, this looks like, when the movie comes out, they have like a baby book for you to read to your
Right.
kid.
Yeah.
That's what that sounds like.
The baby book companion.
It goes with the baby Mozart for you to play out loud. I don't really get that, but I will say that I like the idea of them being in a different universe, so they can do New York from scratch. They were giving out some. I like the style of it. That futuristic '60s looked really cool. So they had the car out there.
Wasn't there also confirmation that they will be in the Avengers movies? So are they?
Yeah, no,
so they're starting in a different version of Earth, and then the variants collide as they tend to in all these multiverse things.
Yeah, see, you got it. Look at you, MCU expert. Look at you.
Oh man.
Hey, this is going to be cool because I don't want to see them have to make up for where were they during this and that and this and the T'Challa and all this, the Chitauri. No, just they were over here doing their thing the entire time. And eventually they'll be roped in to whatever the timeline is. It allows for a fresher story. We know eventually they're all going to reboot it, but this feels like a soft reboot into it. So I'm hoping that we can get enough story of them before they become like a big fighter. We had a couple Iron Men before we got to him fighting and sacrificing his life. They really want to rush into the sacrifice of the life before we even know who they are living. Yeah.
That feels like one of the big missteps with the more recent MCU films is they are like so eager to put all these characters together in a big team up that they don't really give you a proper amount of time with the characters just in their own worlds, doing their own adventures.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited for it. I think the cast looks pretty decent.
Yeah.
And again, I like the style that they're going for it. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll see.
Yeah.
I hope it does well.
Yeah. I don't know if this is confirmed or just something that I saw and read on Twitter, but is Jeremy Renner also coming back for these Avengers movies? Speaking of bringing back all the old people.
In Deadpool, when he told Gambit, you look like if Hawkeye was an actual superhero. That was funny. That's all I have to say to that. I don't care if he comes back or not, bro. But you saw what did get revealed with those hacks?
Oh, no, tell me.
I think Disney got hacked, and one of the revelations was that they made Jeremy Renner take down his app because contractually they were only supposed to find news about him.
And I haven't gotten any Jeremy Renner news since then.
I haven't. I'm behind on it, so I don't know. I guess I don't really care for him to be there, but sure. I don't think so because, again, I see Luna's bringing up Young Avengers. That would have been an announcement. And that's why I'm saying I was like, there weren't announcements. It was just like re-mentioning what we already know about Thunderbolts and everyone else who's going to be out there.
Right.
So,
apparently there was a bit of test footage or a leak of a trailer or something like that shown at Comic-Con for Fantastic Four that was going around a bit. But
yeah, I saw some stills.
I didn't see any of it before it got taken down. Anything to pique your interest or just
it looks like crap because it's camp. But again, it's more so going with the style of them being in a futuristic 60s environment.
Nice. All right. Any other news we should hit before we get to the patrons and picks for the week?
I think other than some of the DC stuff that was announced, like we said with the logo, I know the Penguin had a fire exhibition. Did you see that?
I did not.
The place blew up, so they had to get everybody out of there. So I guess that's one way to get some traction for your stuff. But yeah, I think like the Warner Brothers side of it was just releasing a lot of trailers and teasers. So they're getting ready for this fall, whereas Marvel has nothing for the rest of the year, if I'm not mistaken.